Okay, well, good morning, 8th and ninth graders. Hope you all are doing well. We are on the second half of 10.5, which is factoring completely. Again, this is on page 426. So please turn there in your book, and it'll be helpful as we go through this. So we're going to start with an example problem here. So also stay tuned. You definitely want to watch because after we do some sample problems, we're going to do some homework problems that you will not have to do for the homework. If you follow along, then you'll be able to do it with me. So this is our sample problem. So the first thing, the most important thing we have to understand is we have to pull out the greatest common denominator in a number. So in this problem, I can pull out a 6 from these, and I get 6, and then I get x squared minus 5x minus 24. Okay? So when I multiply those, pull out the 6, when I divide the 30 here by 6, I get 5, and the 144 by 6, I get 24. So now I come over here, the 6 stays, right? It was over here, and it just comes. Now I look at this guy. Now, can we have a square root of 24? No, it's not a perfect square root, so we're not going to do that, which means that now I'm going to have to do x and x. I'm going to have to guess here. What two things will equal this 24? So I come up here and say, what two things will equal this negative 24, right? See, it's a negative sign. And it's also going to give me a negative 5. That's what I'm looking for. B is negative 5, and my AC is negative 24. So I say, what two things to multiply? I got 2 and 12. Well, that's not going to give me negative 5. I've got 4 and 6. That's not going to give it to me. And I have 8 and 3. Oh, look right here. 8 and 3 do equal negative 5 if the 8 is negative. So now I come down here and just make one of them negative 8, the other plus 3. And there is my solution right there. Okay, not too bad. Let's do another one, and then we'll do some homework problems. Okay, so this one is actually one of the grouping problems that you should have been working on for homework. So let's say that they give something like this. They have 4 times b plus c minus m times b plus c. Now this is reviewing a different concept that we learned, and that is that we look at what's in these, and if it's in the parentheses is the same, we just bring them together and write it as b plus c. And then what we do with this 4 and that m is we just combine them to get 4 minus m times b plus c. Okay, that's a little bit of an easier one, different review, right? When these are the same, we just combine them, okay? So there's that. If you need to pause and watch that again, hopefully that will be helpful. Let's do another one that's going to be a little bit challenging as well. So let's say that they give us xt minus 3xw, all of that plus 2t minus 6w. Okay, now what we always do here is we're looking to what can we take out of this guy? What do these two have in common? Well, they both have an x. So I'm going to pull out the x, and I'm going to get t minus 3w. Then what do these have in common? 2t and 6w. Well, they have this 2 in common. So I'm going to do plus. I'm going to pull out the 2, and I'm going to get t minus 3w. Now, how did I know I did that right? Well, look at this. T minus 3w, t minus 3w. And then, obviously, I just combined this x and this x plus 2 to get a grand total of x plus 2 times t minus 3w. Okay? So that's how I write my final answer down here in black. Okay? So now let's do a homework problem. So that's how we solve by grouping. Here's a homework problem. So this is going to be one of yours. This is page 427. And this is number 15. It's the first homework problem. And it looks like this. It says 8a squared minus 48ab. The b is squared plus 72b to the 4th. Wow, okay, that's some weird numbers. But what do we always start with? We try and divide. Can we take anything out? Yes, we can take an 8 out. So I come over here, and I divide by 8, and that divided by 8 is 1, so I get 1a squared minus 6ab squared plus 9b to the 4th. Okay? So I divided each one of these by the 8, and I got their answers down here in that problem right there. So now I am left with this, and I need to figure out, do we have a perfect square? Do we have difference of squares? What's going on? Well, the key step is to always look, can I take a square root of a squared? Yes. Can I take a square root of 9? Yes. And can I take a square root of b squared? Yes. All of those are yes. So that's a very good sign that's going to be either a difference of squares, adding squares, or subtracting squares. So what I need to do then is look at this middle term right here. It's negative 6ab squared. Now the b squared is going to be half of that. So I see that that could work. And the 6 is going to be if this 3 is plus itself. So 3 plus 3 is 6. So I go, oh, I see what's going to happen here. So I come down here, all right, 8, that stays. The square root of a squared is a. So that goes there. The square root of 9 is 3. And the square root of b squared, or b to the 4th, is b squared. B squared. Now, I come over here and I look at my sign. See, that's a minus, but this is a plus, which means they have to be the same sign to give me a plus. And the sign is going to overall be negative, so that means I automatically know minus, minus. So my total answer then, if I rewrite this, is simply to erase this guy, because there's 2 of them, and just add it back. So square the whole thing. You get 8. So that step was just taking it and combining it, because there were 2 of them, and squaring it. Okay, so that's one homework problem. Let's do another one. This is number 16. Okay, so same page. This is number 16. If you're doing it with me, you're going to have less homework. 3x cubed minus 33x squared plus 84x. Now, again, what do I always look for first? Can I take out the numbers? And yes, they're all divisible by 3. So I divide by 3. And what else do they have? Oop, I got ahead of myself. What else do they all have in common? They all have an x in common. So I can divide by 3x. And I'm left here with now x squared minus 11x plus 28 at the end. So I kept the signs the same, but now I've done that much, so that's nice. Now I come down here and say, is this guy a difference of squares? Well, I can't take the square root of 28, so no, it's not a difference of squares, which means I'm going to have to do it the longhand way, so I get 3x. I can't take the square root of that, though. That's x, obviously, so x there. And then I say, what times what is 28, but that gives me a negative 11. So the signs have to be the same, and here's how I know. Look, there's a plus. So if that's plus, the signs have to be the same, and then if this is a negative, then I know that they both have to be negative. So I'm looking for 2 negatives that will add up to negative 11. So let's try some here. 2 and 14. Nope. 4 and 7. Ooh, 4 plus 7 is 11 if they're both negative. It's negative 11. So now I know. I just have to come down here and write negative 4 and negative 7. There's my final answer. 3x times x minus 4 times x minus 7. Okay, now let's do another hard one. We'll skip down here to number 26. Okay, so this will be also on the homework problem. So if you want to write this down and come back later, x squared minus 2x minus 3xy plus 6y. Now again, when it looks like this, it's not a trinomial anymore, so I have to do grouping. Okay, so I group those guys together, right? Because it's a grouping problem. So I group these and put a plus sign in between. So now I come over here and say, what can I pull out of that guy? Well, obviously they both have an x, so I just write x times x minus 2. That was not too bad. Now I come over here and say, okay, the 3 can come out of both, so I can pull out here the negative 3 here. So this is but I'd have to pull out a positive here, get a plus 3. Then I come over here and say, what do they both have in common? They both have a y, so now I can pull the y out. Okay, so, oh, one thing here, sorry, this is actually a negative. I had it right the first time, because it is a negative 3, so I need a negative there. So negative 3y, and then all of that times, now this becomes a positive x, and then this negative here is going to be a minus 2. Okay, so that's the hard part, I think, maybe, for us to understand, is when I pull out a negative, I have to make sure that when I multiplied it back, this would become a negative, and this would become, in this case, a positive. So it has to be the opposite sign, which is very hard to do mentally, okay? So it just takes some practice. Now that I'm here, look, these match, x minus 2, and then I combine these guys, x minus 3y, so my final answer is x minus 3y times x minus 2, And voila, I have my answer. Okay, we'll do one final one here, and then I'll let you know what your homework is. That's going to include a lot of these. So let's try number 17. Okay, number 17 is x to the fourth minus 16. Okay, now obviously I'm going to look for a difference of squares because I have a negative here, and then I can take a square root of both of those. So let's do that. What is the square root of x to the fourth? Well, that's x squared. What's the square root of 16? That equals 4. So I got 4 and 4. And remember, when it's a negative sign here, one is negative and one is positive. Okay, now at this point, I've done all the damage that I can do with this guy right here, right? He's done because he's x plus 4. But then, if I look at this one that I'm circling in blue, look at this. It's also the difference of squares. So he's got a minus sign and the difference of squares. So I'm going to say, well, how can I rewrite that? Well, what's the square root of x squared is x. What's the square root of 4? That's 2 times 2. And then I have a negative sign here, so one's going to be plus and one's going to be minus. So now when I write my final answer, I combine what's down here with what's right here to get a grand total answer of x squared plus 4 times x plus 2 times x minus 2. And there, ladies and gentlemen, is the full answer. So it's just factoring out the difference of squares and then moving forward from there. So here's to the homework that we're going to be doing. This is page 427, and this is 10.5, and we are going to be doing numbers 15 through 30 all, okay? And I already did 4 of them for you, so that leaves a little fewer for you to do, but there is the homework, 15 through 30 all. Okay, hope that makes sense. Please email me if you have questions. Mr. H is over and out.